Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this interview today with Marwan Wishahi from the Al Jalil Association in Jenin refugee camp. In recent days, there's been a massive escalation of violence against Palestinians in Jenin. Yesterday, we saw the Israeli occupation forces killed a 16-year-old Jana Majdi Zakarneh on her roof with a sniper. And last week there was 3 people killed. And so thank you for joining us, Marwan. And I wondered if you could start by kind of giving us an idea of what's going on in Jenin at the moment.
Yeah, as you know, we are Jenin refugee camp and Jenin city in every time targeted by the Israelis army or Israeli soldiers. And every evening there is the soldiers attack Jenin and attack Jenin refugee camp, especially during camp, maybe to arrest some Palestinian youth who are was wanted by the Israelis security, as the Israelis say. And in this time, there is clashes between the Palestinian youth and the Israeli soldiers, and the Israeli soldiers use the guns and shot the Palestinian in every time. And if there is Israeli, in every time, and the Israeli came to our camp, they killed maybe one or last time yesterday killed children from Jenin city. She was 16 years old. She was just at the when there is some maybe some sounds outside his house. She go up to the roof, and the Israeli soldiers shot these girls by the big machine gun. Today, the Israeli soldiers, I think, I heard by news that Israeli allowed the Israeli soldiers get this child.
That's yeah, it's really bad. What are your thoughts on the this new Israeli government, which has now seen the return of Netanyahu and has moved brought an even more right-wing cabinet? Do you think that has any relation to kind of what's going on the ground?
I think the Israeli didn't need the reason to attack the Palestinian people in every time. Every time the Israelis, the Palestinian people in the target. In every time. When Netanyahu was prime minister, or when another Israeli leader's prime minister, they didn't need any reason. Just they need to kill. They need to make to talk about the Palestinian who was tourism in every time, and you can imagine that in the middle of the night or in the beginning of the day at early morning, the Israeli came to arrest somebody. The Israeli can maybe he was students in the university, maybe his students in the school or work, or the Israeli can arrest him in different places. But the Israelis came with big number of the soldiers and big number of the cars, security cars, and before the soldiers came, there is special Israeli forces by his clothes, civil clothes, and used the Palestinian cars, and came and put the snipers in different places up the houses, up the houses inside the camp. And if any people can move in this moment, the Israeli shot him. We didn't think that the Israeli government, when it changed, there is the policy change. The policies continue before since 2000, when the second intifada beginning, and the Israelis attack the Jenin refugee camps and make massacres in Jenin, inside Jenin, in Jenin refugee camp in April 2002, and killed 53 persons, and killed and injured hundreds, and injured, arrested thousands of the youth from Jenin refugee camp. These massacres are continue until now, since 2002. Israeli, you can imagine that the population of Jenin refugee camp around 16,000 in life under the bad conditions, under the poor. There is poor families, and there is no space. There is they use around 1 kilometer scouts, the space of the Jenin refugee camp, and that means that when the Israeli shot the bullets will injured one persons. There is 19 persons, 1990 in hundreds will kill person, or will kill children, kill youth. There is old man killed inside the camp, and there is youth, and there is children, and everything. And you can imagine that nobody can move in when the Israelis came, but the Israeli came in every time, in every night, every evening.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like yeah, this situation is kind of escalating, and the army is carrying out even more raids and so on. How are people responding to this? Like, what is I don't know, the people in the camp, the Palestinian Authority, the kind of youth movements that you mentioned? What is the response to this?
Yeah, we think that we are in Jenin refugee camp as alone, because what can the Palestinian Authority make they didn't can make stop the Israeli armies. The Israeli, when they came in Jenin, of course, the Jenin area, Jenin refugee camp, it is an area according to Oslo agreement. But that means that this area under the Palestinian Authority, under the Palestinian Authority. But when the Israeli came, they maybe sometimes they talk to the Palestinian security, to Palestinian agencies, securities, and then every time they didn't tell him. And the Palestinian security agencies, they haven't any possibility to clash or to target the Israeli soldiers, because they haven't guns, they haven't the decision to make like these clashes. And the people inside the camp alone. You can now there is hundreds of the people are injured by the Israelis, and tens came as disabled persons, physically disabled persons. They need some materials, they need medical services, they need physiotherapy services. We are active in our association, the Jenin Association, to have rehabilitation services for these people. But now we haven't any income. We haven't any support by anybody in Jenin or in Palestine or in the world. That's mean that we are now our situation or our situation very, very difficult.
I saw that there was a kind of one-day general strike, I think it was in Jenin last week, kind of after 3 people had been killed, and obviously there's been a kind of since the attack on Gaza last year, where there was a kind of general strike across the West Bank and Palestinians inside, Israeli territory, and there's been more of this kind of grassroots organizing and mobilizing of Palestinian workers. I mean, is that something you think that is happening and growing, and that that is building that kind of solidarity and links?
After last yesterday, when the Israeli killed the girls, the Palestinian parties in Jenin say that there is a strike in Jenin city, especially in Jenin city. That means that the shop closed. No, nobody can go to the work. The schools are closed. The university are closed. But if you mean that if you talk about the Palestinian workers who work inside Israel, they need permission, and we have in Jenin refugee camp a special case because the Israelis authority didn't allow or didn't give the Palestinian who live in Jenin refugee camp or who from refugee camp to have permission to go to pass the checkpoint to go to Israel to work, because as you know, the Palestinian authority is very, very weakness, and at the same time there is we haven't any possibility to work in Palestinian in land, especially in West Bank. When we talked about the Gaza Strip, there is difference because there is a space between the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and nobody can move easy from West Bank to Gaza or from Gaza to go to come to visit West Bank. But there is some cases. They really give some workers permission to go from Gaza to work inside Israel and from West Bank to go to work inside Israel. But when I talked about Jenin refugee camps, there is difference because the Israeli didn't give the workers who can work inside Israel the permission. If it happen, it's very, very limited.
Okay, thank you for that. I think that's been really informative. I guess just the last question I wanted to ask is just how can people in Britain or in in the international community support Palestinians, and especially at this moment when you're facing this kind of increased level of violence? What can we do to support you?
I think there is a two-way or 2 point. One point is political point. We are talk to the British people to be in the solidarity Palestinian campaign, to solidarity with the Palestinian people, to push the political Britain political to push the Israeli to stop this process or this crimes inside in Palestine. The second boards we like to support the Palestinian association or the Palestinian organization, especially who work in the field, in the land, like our organization in Jalid. We need support our activities or our programs or our services.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I'll put a link to your organization in the description. But yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today, and all solidarity with you.
Thank you very much for you and for our friends in London, and hope and like to see you again in Jenin.